Let's begin today with a little game, a little exercise. Just close your eyes for a few seconds and then just imagine that you were waking up in a completely you were opening your eyes in a completely new and foreign place. Or maybe you've time traveled or something like that. Now just open your eyes and look around you, almost as though you were looking at everything for the first time. For me, it's blinds. I've got a few plants in this room, just colors, textures, furniture, art, the walls. Doesn't it all seem so incredible? And even if you can't really practice or do this exercise well, just imagine what it would feel like, what it would be like to find running water, to find this space, this privacy, this security, this comfort. That is the beauty about this practice. The more we practice, the more we begin to find ourselves initially having glimpses of the present moment, stepping outside of our minds, our thoughts, our memories, which sometimes makes everything around us feel so familiar. The colors on our walls, the art pieces that we've collected over the years, those pieces of music that we've listened to. Stepping into the present moment turns every one of these into a new experience, a fresh experience. And that's just the easy part, because this is something we will also soon begin to practice in the people in our lives, with the people in our lives. Because obviously, the people in our lives, most of them are good people. That's why they're in our lives. But then again, our memory, it accumulates good bits, bad bits, things we have in common, things we don't have in common, words that were said at the spur of anger or hurt. And we bring all these baggage, all these pieces of baggage with us each time we meet these people in our lives or speak to them. This is a practice which allows us to meet a new person each time we find themselves with them, whether you live with them, whether you visit them frequently or occasionally. And being in the present moment, we just we're just very briefly reminding ourselves why we practice, how this practice can serve us. As we find ourselves anchored more and more into the present moment, these present moments, they grow from glimpses to a combination of three glimpses, which becomes a moment. And soon three of these moments join together and become a very peaceful, longer moment. And then we continue practicing, and soon we find ourselves immersed, bathed in this stillness, this presence, this awareness, this kindness, this beauty. Kindness, because as we become more present, we find ourselves separating ourselves from the mind, that entity we refer to as the mind. And once we are separate from the mind, we discover that we have something called choice. The choice to focus on particular parts of the mind, particular thoughts, particular beliefs. And we have the choice to release those others that do not serve us. What is the test? It is our emotions. It is our emotions. When we feel negative, uncomfortable emotions, examples would be anxiety, grief, fear, anger. It simply means we are focusing on the thoughts which are filtering our experiences and resulting in such emotions. And so our emotions are perhaps one of the most important ingredients in this practice, an awareness of our emotions. Because many of our beliefs are so ingrained, so deep, so much a part of us that we are unaware that we even have them. There are many beliefs which are very easy to detect. The prejudices against color, religion, skin color, religion, sexuality, economic status. Those are usually a little bit easier to spot. But for those other beliefs, we learn to become more aware of our emotions within our body, because that's where emotions unfold, chemicals being released by the brain into the body. That gives us a multitude of different emotions and therefore experiences. But now, let's begin with when I ring the bell by just taking in all of the emotions that we may be experiencing at this particular moment. Not yesterday, not 5 days ago, not later on when you have that meeting with that particular person, but right now. And they might be good emotions, of feeling relaxed, of feeling soothed, of being able to just rest, taking in all of your emotions. And this really translates into feelings that you're experiencing within your body. With the ringing of the next bell, releasing the need to judge any of these emotions, just letting them be, letting them surface, letting them linger, letting them move on. Because this is a part, a vital ingredient of this present moment. Invite yourself to use this practice at different points in your day, in your lives, just to understand how you're filtering the world around you. Precious, precious, precious emotions. They're a little bit like the indicator in your car that tells you how full the petrol tank is or how empty it is. Many of us, we've learned, even as children, we've learned to cover up these petrol indicators, these emotions, block them. Simply stick one of those happy faces on them. Pretend, suppress, push down. But right now, just give yourself permission. And don't expect yourself to change immediately. You will meet that annoying person. You will have that challenge. You will physically react. You may physically verbalize your discomfort, your anger, your sadness. And that's absolutely fine. But let us remember this awareness, this practice. You can leave out the word meditation and simply call this a practice in awareness. Being aware when we react, when we show our anger or disappointment or sadness, almost as though you were stepping outside of your body, watching someone else react. Watch from that space of stillness. And as you continue with the practice, you will soon find yourself able to experience the emotions without reacting physically, without saying things that will have repercussions or consequences. You will be able to see the consequences, the repercussions before you speak, before you act, and then decide whether or not to physically or verbally react, but at all times experiencing the emotions fully within your body, allowing it to flow and unblock all of those clogged up pockets of tightness that have blocked the energy centers within our bodies. Moving one step closer to being the person we truly are. We've experienced our emotions. Now, the thoughts. Give your thoughts permission, because your thoughts are a part of this present moment. They are surfacing. They too are lingering. They too are disappearing. One thought leading to the next, and so on. Again, release your judgments if you can. Release your judgments of particular thoughts, of the very fact that you're thinking when you believe you should be having a still mind. Just allow, because the thoughts are a part of this present moment. And now taking in all of the sounds around you, that which we have often referred to as the symphony of sounds that surround us, that are emanating from within us, the beating hearts, the breathing. If you were moving, if you were stretching, that sound. The sounds of the traffic outside your window, or the birds singing, or the alarm, the car alarm screeching away. In this practice, you will begin to realize that you can assign a definition to anything around you. And in these circumstances, in this particular practice, we are calling these sounds a symphony, which means there is harmony. There is perfection. It may not sound right to you, but have you ever listened to one of those very abstract pieces of jazz or classical music where it just flows? Every instrument, perfection. Every sound, every car alarm, every screaming baby, every barking dog, a part of this symphony, this present moment. Welcome, welcome, welcoming everything that is entering into your experience through your ears. And then the sense of touch, which envelops every inch of the body, often making its way into the body through the nostrils, the lips, the ears. Perhaps starting off with those exposed areas of skin which are in contact with the air that blankets our bodies, which cradles and interacts with the cells that make up our faces, our ears, our necks, our arms. We have already started to tap into our doorways into the present moment, our five senses. The present moment existing independently of the time created within the mind, allowing for the space and the gaps to appear between that who we truly are and that entity we have referred to as the mind. Entity, tool, something very useful, but only when we learn how to use it. And today we take the first step in this direction. How still is the air around you? Perhaps you may have a window open, you might have a fan or air conditioning running around you. Some may feel stillness, some may feel movement. All experiences are perfect and exactly as they should be. Now fine tune these sensations by exploring those parts of the body that may be covered in clothing, that have fabric wrapped around it. You're interested in the little fibers that interact with your body. Notice how, because of the folds and how fluid the fabric is, some parts will be in contact with the skin, and then there are gaps. And underneath those gaps between the fabric and the skin, layers of warm air. Identifying, contrasting these sensations against those that are exposed, the skin areas that are exposed. your awareness moving downward, exploring those points of contact between this vessel, this body, this form that we temporarily inhabit, the interaction between this form and the chair, the cushions and the mats underneath you, the flooring. When you hear the next bell, see how much you can surrender your bodies to the forces of gravity. Your body becoming heavier, this being experienced particularly around those points of contact between body and cushion, body and chair, body and mat. The way in which the two surfaces appear to mold to each other's shape, supporting, balancing. Now, can you notice how you have arrived a little bit more? How do we define arrived? An alignment between mind and body, an alignment between the mind, the body, and the eternal present moment where everything is. Suddenly, your challenges, those conversations, finances and relationships and health, they become a part of a story, almost as though they were a screen being observed and watched from this present moment, quite separate. Scenes changing, sounds changing, everything changing while you remain grounded, anchored here. Now, most of us here, we like the cinema, we like the theater. Have you ever noticed how the better the actors, the more convincing the storylines, They invoke various emotions, especially when we watch these movies or plays in the theater or in the cinema in darkness, where only the stage or the screen is lighted up. We shed tears, we laugh, we feel the emotions of the different characters, forgetting, often forgetting that we are members of the audience until, shall we say, this moment when the lights begin to come on, when I ring the next bell, visualize a light enveloping the space around you. This light moving through your skin and through your body, awakening you, finding yourself alert to the present moment. But yet it isn't quite the end. The story continues. The actors continue to act out their scripts and their roles. There is dramatic music. But you are now aware that you are the witness, the observer, the space that surrounds the stage and the auditorium. That very space that moves beyond walls of this room, stadium. You are the space. But it is a convincing play. And I'm talking about those people in our lives, that past, what you've read about in the newspapers about what the future could be like or should be like or will be like. When you like something about the story, a particular character, a particular moment, when you judge it as desirable, as good, as the way things should be, you find yourself forgetting that you are the observer, and you begin to see things through the eyes of the actors or that particular actor, especially the one that looks like you, that sounds like you, that actor who's playing your role, the role of you. And this is why every practice, every sitting practice, every practice in awareness, it reminds us to release our judgments. The judgments will always be there, but we will learn to recognize these judgments perhaps using our emotions as indicators, showing us what matters and what doesn't, what is likely, more likely to suck us into the play. With the ringing of the next bell, feel the mat underneath you, or the chair, or the flooring. You are here. And don't be frustrated because it's not easy to release the judgments. But as we practice, I'm sure many of you have already noticed, you have started to recognize these judgments, these likes, these dislikes, and you've already started to release them. And it's the same with the dislikes. If there is a character who has caused much pain, who's disruptive, there is dislike. We do not like their opinions. We do not like their judgments, whether about us or about others. And we get sucked into the story. I ring the bell again to remind us we are here now. And we smile as we find ourselves more anchored into the present moment, perhaps than ever before. Directing our attention to our breath, almost as though all of the spotlights that are now shining on the stage, they suddenly begin to turn and move and direct themselves and focus on the tips of our nostrils. The play continues, the movie continues, the stories continue, but our attention on the flow, the process. We now so fondly refer to as breathing. Many of us, and I notice this of myself, my breathing can be very shallow at times. And when I become aware of my breath, I begin to realize how much I thirst for more oxygen. Breathe in deeply. Feed your body, feed its cells with that eternal life-giving breath. Bringing your attention only to the sensations. Of breath in and out. And along with that flow, temperatures rising, temperatures falling, humidity levels constantly fluctuating, the out breath so much more vivid with its warm, humid air flowing through the nostrils, down the upper lip, through the nasal passage. Throughout this practice, as my voice guides you to different aspects of this present moment, you need the mind to find these different aspects, these different parts. It is only because the mind learned where the nostrils are, that it has helped you to locate that area in front of your face. The mind learned what warmth is, and coolness is, and humidity and crispness. Of course, you may use other words, but we are using, for once, we are using the mind for exactly what it was designed for, to translate this moment. And when you're cooking, when you're eating later on, the mind will join you in the present moment to translate the different tastes that explode within your taste buds, and the different smells of spices and herbs and whatever else you will be using in your foods. As you walk through a busy supermarket, or through your favorite park or pathway, you will see colors and textures and shapes. And the practice is to simply see all of these forms as being something beyond definition, as consciousness itself reflecting light. That's all it is. Consciousness reflecting light. Sitting breathing, being this consciousness as we experience the life force that represents well being move through every cell in our body. Can you notice how your heart beats? And there's absolutely nothing you need to do. Can you notice how your lungs breathe? And there is absolutely nothing you need to do. This is where our practice will lead us into a space and a state of balance, of fulfillment, of contentment, where we finally realize there is nothing left to do. For we are the perfection. And as we experience this beingness, this presence, we will find ourselves instinctively turning right instead of left, picking up the phone, writing an email, looking for a particular website, choosing a particular piece of music to listen to. And we will find ourselves simply allowing what has always been rightfully ours to finally arrive, no longer resisting, no longer pushing, just watching, just smiling, appreciating, seeing beyond forms, hearing beyond words, at one with the trees and the birds that know all of this and are always seeking to share this wisdom with us. not only every tree and every bird, but every person, every person who is a part of that journey that leads us into the realization, the recognition, that knowing of who we truly are. Just pure beingness, pure kindness, pure love. And when I speak of love, I speak of the energy that transcends forms, that connects each and every one of us. In this final part of the practice, just remind yourself that my voice was never important in this practice. No matter what meditation practice, guided meditation practices you attend, the voices are always secondary. The sounds that make up the voices are simply there to guide you back into the gaps, those spaces in between the sounds. Those points where a word ends and the next word begins, that gap, that space, that silence. Many of you have already become very familiar with that space, so familiar that you barely hear a single word that is being uttered in this practice, which is the way it is always meant to be. So feel free to tune away from the voice and focus on the silence behind every sound. The eternal, sometimes deafening silence that is always there in a busy street, in a busy supermarket, in a concert. We used many tools in today's practice to help us into the present moment. Find one of those tools that you were most comfortable with. Let it be a tool that you will use after this practice ends. And the moment after that, and the moment after that, and that moment when you sense, when you experience uncomfortable emotions, which tool have you found? It may not even be a tool that we have used in today's practice. For each and every one of you, you are your own facilitator. You are your own greatest teacher. You know, you've always known. And then notice how easy it is, how comfortable, how natural, how you almost gravitate back into the present moment as you tap into this tool that has always been a part of you, has always been available to you. And when I ring the next bell, it will mark the close of this hour that we've spent together, but the beginning of a practice that will last for hours, days, weeks, months, a lifetime, the present moment. That is all there is. Thank you so much for joining in this practice. Deeply appreciated as always.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Vinod. That was stunning, beautiful.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for guiding us.
That's a pleasure. Did you hear all the happy children out there being let out of school early?
Oh, bless them. I didn't actually. I didn't hear with you.
I'm glad. It's a pleasure. Bye, Augustine. Bye, Frank. Bye, Danielle. Bye, Stuart. Bye, Julie. Loved all of you.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. See you in a week. Bye.